I was hoping I could figure out where to change videos. Constantly, but I can't figure out how to do it. I think I figured out. I right clicked on it and clicked loop. So hypothetically, it might do it.
Take our seats, please. Are we on? I don't know. Really? Are we on?
Yes, we are.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Again, we are now reconvened in open session. The next item on our agenda is the report of the president. And I have the report here. It's online, but I want to take a moment and ask for a round of applause from Suko Matapsa and Andy Schatz for the money that they raised and all the work they did for the Capital Gazette fundraiser.
He handled how many hundreds of those t-shirts?
We now stand that before the shooting, we had sold or given out through fundraisers about 300 t-shirts, and since the shooting, now we're about 700.
Wow.
Including 75 last week. And broadcasters association.
There's no whole free.
So far, we have given to the funds $3,500 from Rebecca, Ellis, and myself, donating our stipends, and then $6,500 are from the shirts, and we have more to go.
Right. That's right. So I just want to give a heartfelt thank you, Andy, and Sue for helping you to coordinate. And I think it's one of the better things we've done this year. And I mean, we were, and the staff, for updating our website, getting it on social media. Alice and I fielded some media calls in the aftermath of it. So I think it was one of those things where SPJ really stood up as an organization, as a board, as a staff, and reacted and was out there for this. And I think it's a wonderful thing to do. And as you said, there's more to come. So thank you very, very much for that. All right, so moving on, report of the SDX Foundation, Mr. Ledger.
This is the last time you're going to ever have to hear me talk. I know many of you are very happy about that. I'll keep it short because I know that you're pressed for time. Our holdings at last report from Amy are nearly $14 million. So if any of you would like to make a donation today to put us over the top, that'd be great. Those of you who have contributed and do contribute, thank you very much. We're very excited to have Rod Hitch on as our first ever journalist on call. He's doing a great job. Had a wonderful event here Tuesday night. So we have the report later. And I'll sit down.
Right. Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
President.
and we will vote on changing our name tomorrow. I have no idea how it's going to go. I'm not told anybody. But we'll see what happens there. And I would
to what?
From SDX Foundation to just the letters SPJ Foundation, because who knows what you guys are going to do with your name. And so we don't want to do it again. So we're just going to leave it at SPJ Foundation. If the board, 2/3 of the board votes on it. And then that would come to you because any SDX bylaw amendment have to be ratified by you. Well, that has to be ratified by you. You have the option of putting it down within 30 days, I think. So that'll come to you, and we'll have some sort of written notification. We'll take care of that. And I am politicking. I didn't want to make, in pure violation of ethics policy. I am politicking, and I expect all of my candidates to win.
Very good. Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much. Next item on our agenda is approval of board meeting minutes. Do we have any issues or corrections needed to the minutes from the April 14th, 15th meeting or the July 21st meeting?
On July 21st, I called in a few minutes late and I wasn't there.
Okay.
I pulled in a few minutes.
Okay, so can we have the July 21st minutes amended? Okay, do I count as Alice having CJZ there?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
very good. So do I have a motion to approve the April 14th, 15th, and July 21st as amended minutes? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, Lauren moves, second, Tom. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, staff reports, introduction of new staff. Allison.
The new staff will, they're working registration and whatnot downstairs. I will introduce who's here. The entire staff will be at Alex's meeting on Sunday, so we can meet them all. To my far left is Rod Hicks. He is the new journalist on call. He works remotely and he works out of New Jersey and comes to the office like quarterly to be with the staff and whatnot. Very familiar face. Jennifer Royer, she is the manager in charge of marketing, both digital and public relations. Behind her is Billy, also familiar face. He is our website all around guru who does everything for our website. To my immediate left is Larry Messing. He's the oldest of the new people besides myself. And he is director of fundraising, director of development, and is responsible for all of our fundraising, particularly focusing on unrestricted funds, which is the hardest kind of funding to get. So he and I work very closely together. And to my right is Amy Wong. She is director of finance and administration. So she handles all the admin stuff and all the finances for our staff and for any clients that we might have.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, update of the fiscal year 19 budget.
I want to make a couple of remarks before Amy gets in.
Okay.
I want to thank you, Rebecca, for all your support and dedication as president of the executive board, and for your constructive and open dialogue on a number of pressing issues for the staff these past 6 months, and for your invaluable advice and support. That thank you comes not only from me, but from the entire staff, and I said I would deliver that message. It's been a fast and furious 6 months where we've seen a significant change in staffing at headquarters with 7 new employees and the loss of 2 key association management clients. I would like to also extend my gratitude to the other members of the board for your constructive criticism and for your support as we learn, the entire staff, the ins and outs of the organization and how we can work together as a team to elevate SPJ's mission. We're at a critical point for SPJ as we work to increase membership and retain and remain viable during a time where journalists are under the greatest attack we have seen in recent history. It's an exciting moment for SPJ to look toward updating our strategic plan and providing more focus and impactful tools for our members. Our main goal at headquarters in the next 6 months is to focus on several key areas, including membership strategy, recruiting additional association management clients, press freedom advocacy, fundraising, and strengthening and developing new partnerships. In the past 3 months, we've worked on cleaning up our membership roles and have begun discussions on how we can improve membership and especially member retention. We have put in place best practice procedures, including many admin forms like emergency contact forms and these sort of things that we did not have before. We responded quickly and forcefully to the tragedy at Capitol Gazette, as Rebecca mentioned, and participated in a panel on Capitol Hill about attacks against journalists. I've also hired the journalist on call who's taken the bull by the horns in our very lofty goal of working to improve the public's trust of the media. As you just heard on Tuesday, we had a town hall meeting to discuss the media's coverage of social movements, focusing on the death of Freddie Gray and the ensuing riots here in Baltimore. And we have a lot more planned, which you will hear about when Rod gives his presentation. In terms of fundraising, we have also reached out to several potential funders, including the Ford Foundation, Joyce Foundation, the Nina Mason Pulliam Charitable Trust, the Knight Foundation, and Democracy Fund. We have held a successful day of giving, and we plan to host another one in November, and we'll be looking for your support as Larry puts that together. As we go forward, I will work on fine-tuning communication with the new board, and my goal is to have you all informed every step of the way of our progress. And I'll reach out to you collectively or individually for your assistance and sometimes for your advice and counsel. Before we get to the budget and our projects and the report from the journalists on call, I want to publicly thank the staff who have worked so hard on putting this convention together. The vast majority of the staff came in 2/3 of the way into the planning when everything was almost done, and really hustled and learned what to do and really came together to put together what we expect will be a really stellar convention. I especially want to thank the staff members who were in place when I arrived at SPJ. They have been invaluable in helping me and the other new staffers negotiate plans and procedures to make sure they meet SPJ standards and customs. And I want to say Billy, Jennifer, Linda, Marina, who else? Christine, thank you. And Tony, thank you. Now to Amy Wong, who's gonna provide a brief update of the fiscal year 2019 budget and tell you some of the things that have changed.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy. I'm very happy to be here and very honored to work with Allison, our whole team, and the boards. A couple of updates for the 2019 budget. As you all know, before my time here, a budget was passed that was in a deficit. We're still looking at a deficit budget for the year. What I can tell you is that we have looked at salaries, and there's been some changes there where we have a $65,000 savings across SDX and SPJ. I can also let you know that expenses have been reduced overall $29,000. Where we really need to see the gap eliminated is in income. So the loss of the association management clients that Allison referenced, but also looking as well towards membership, as well as awards revenue, and sponsorship and fundraising are going to be our goals going forward. If you would like to see any more individual numbers, I can email those to you, let me know. But I think that that's all I have to share right now.
Questions from the board? Yes, Michael.
On the budget, is this the appropriate time to ask questions?
Budget, yeah. Next question.
I would just note that there is a finance committee meeting at 2:30. If you're able to attend that, we'll dig in more line by line, but certainly.
I was speaking, I just love that. I don't want to do my points, but the biggest are expenses. I know you said income tax. That's good. The expenses that are most over budget, some of them are unavoidable because $14,000 over on the budget. That's stats. That's I understand that, but we're almost $20,000 over on employee travel. $15,000 on awards merchandise.
That's something I can look into more. But you know, when you're thinking about employee travel, it's also, you know, if there's meals for new staff or like there could be a lot of different factors into that. So I can do a more detailed report for that for the finance committee. But there's always going to be when there's new staff coming on and or recruitment expenses to go talk to people or.
One thing about to learn about this board.
Sure,
Sometimes against our own will, get too much in the weeds, so I'm trying to avoid that.
sure,
So I'm just pointing out the bigger things that might be of interest to the board on a global scale. Why is employee travel 20,000 over? Why is outside services, which might be related to, why is that 13,000 over? And while our expenses were down on awards, or we actually were under SDX awards were $16,000 on something called awards merchandise. So those are just global questions I'll need to
Sure.
answer now. But
Sure.
maybe by Sunday, because that added up represents a large chunk of our deficit. I don't really want to go into the $33.
sure.
And we'll explain the outside services. A lot of that had to do with the move before we came because we had to build out the upstairs
Fair
and
enough.
the tenants.
That's great. That's a great answer. I just-
Yeah, and our Boys and Girls Club tenants.
By the way, none of these questions are to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you asked. Thank you.
Okay, let's see the bond, update on projects on Google, Facebook, Script Leadership Institute. Larry.
Do you want to cover Google and Facebook first?
Yes, Google and Facebook. As most of you read when I sent the email, the last weekly report, I am really very excited that Lynn Walsh who is already a trainer for Facebook, will take on the role as a consultant for Facebook and in effect deal with the other trainers and help us decide where they will go to train and kind of oversee the project a lot. Very similar to the arrangement we have with Google. We have a contractor named Sam who does a very similar thing for Google. And then we have a staff person, 2 different staff persons. It used to be the same staff person, Michael, who did Facebook and Google. Of course, there were some concerns because they're competitors in some ways. So I divided it, and we have 1 staff person who does Facebook, 1 who does Google, who support the person who's in the field doing the contract position. It's a remote position. We just had a train the trainers in New York with Facebook, and it went very well. We trained several new trainers, and they're excited to be aboard. The Facebook training was in New York, and we trained several, get them mixed up, trainers in New York. And Facebook is very happy with what we're doing. We have a lot more training. We've met our 30 training goal, which Facebook set, and we have a lot more money left to spend to do more trainings. So headquarters is focused on really marketing and promoting that. Google, we are continuing. We actually have a waiting list for the training for Google. Google recently contracted us or gave us another project to do, which is election coverage for the midterms. So we'll be in 12 cities, started a month ago until the end of October. And our new Quill person who's in charge of Google as well is working really hard on filling the seats in these cities where these trainings will be. I'll meet with Google this afternoon at 2:30 with the representatives that they have who are here to talk about money for next year, about funding us again for next year to do the Google training, which is a great thing because that's a big part of our income. I think that's it. Any questions about Google and Facebook?
And for scripts, we've submitted a new proposal to scripts for the Leadership Institute. Allison met with Batinto a couple of months ago, got some good feedback from, we'll be making some changes to the program. The funding that we get from scripts actually is more or less passed through from some of the scripts family members. And so what Batinto is doing is taking our proposal, giving it to them for their input and having them decide on what direction they want to go in. Funding is not at risk at this point. We're just saying if we want to make any changes to the program, if family wants to go along with that, or if there are other ideas they have for the program.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
So, what is the focus at this point? What have you put forward to the Scripps folks?
No, so what we're looking at doing now is perhaps making the Scripps Leadership Institute now focus more on preparing incoming student editors of newspapers or student managers of radio stations or television stations, preparing them with leadership skills in order to run their newsrooms. A lot of them have the skills they've gotten for actual journalism skills, but what we're hoping to do is use this program to provide leadership skills to these same students. And what will happen is they will come in, they would take this right before they start their time as editors, so that once they start, editors and radio station managers and TV station managers, so that once they start, they'll be ready to be strong leaders in their newsrooms.
And why is that focus? Why did we select that focus? Did it come from us, or did Scripps propose it? And then, very importantly, where in the organization are we going to be focusing on training new SPJ leaders, which was the prior focus of the Scripps Leadership Institute?
After several conversations with Scripps about the way that we were currently doing the training, including some in-person, I drove up there to talk to them about it. They were interested in seeing a different focus, or a more dynamic focus. And so understanding that they have a real keen eye on students, they've given a lot of money for investigative journalism at some colleges recently, investigative journalism programs. We pitched the idea of making the program focused on future leaders, college students who are kind of thrown into a leadership role at their university, running a publication or radio or television, because they were also interested in electronic media. So we had discussions about it and came up with a proposal, and we're waiting to hear a little bit more about the proposal, to hear some feedback, because we may wind up with a hybrid between what we propose and what we already do. The idea for training incoming SPJ leaders was that we need to figure out a way, one of two things, and of course we need big board input on this, whether or not we will train incoming leaders at regional conferences, or whether we will find a way within our annual conference to train incoming leaders. But we also thought it might be a good opportunity to get them involved on the regional level and get to know each other in their region if they're trained at one of our 12 regional conferences each year.
Very good. Andy.
We took this up this morning at the RT conference. We decided we'd like to go ahead and do the conferences. There's some variation on how we work with Sunday half session. I work for some, but not for others, but we're going to try to fold it in somehow. The question just isn't we can work on.
Very good. Okay, Michael.
Sorry, with the emphasis on college scripts, we had an analysis of the other programs that are out there. There's a university, the great college of journalism, Georgia does a seminar each year for college. ACP does workshops in California. CNA does similar workshops in New York. They combine for a summer institute.
Yeah, we have.
Give us money for something.
No, and we definitely have, and we wanted to make sure, and in particular, one thing I think may set us apart a little bit is this will be a small program, and we also make sure we're expanding to as diverse of audience as possible. So we're also working with not only large campuses, but we're also working for smaller HBCUs, those kind of places too. So we're highly diverse. And one thing I also want to mention too is that after EIJ, we'll be sending out surveys to Scripps graduates in the last, we haven't defined the number, maybe 5 years, to get their feedback on their experience on the Scripps program, so we can make sure that we're also, in addition, making sure that program is as good as it can be.
And the other thing about this program is that each student is paired with a mentor
That's right.
from their city or town, and a high-ranking one, like a deputy managing editor, publisher, news director at a radio station. And that person will follow them and communicate with them through their whole year of managing their staff at their TV station, newspaper, or whatnot. And then they will come together at EIJ, the mentor and the mentee, for like a kind of final, because at this point, the student will probably be graduating, may have a job offer, and hopefully the relationship will continue. But they will have someone off campus who they can call and say, the university doesn't want us to run the story, or I'm having a problem with this with my campus editor. I don't really kind of know how to handle it. So that there's a longer term relationship and not a one-off, like a summer 1 week kind of program. And they were really interested in that part. And of course, our goal is if the students are not SPJ members and, or the mentors, that we wind up with, I think there are 20 schools or something, we wind up with a guaranteed kind of 40 new members who we can introduce to SPJ, and they can learn about SPJ from the mentee and mentor side.
It would be great if once this builds, you have a number of members and speakers that.
Absolutely.
But
I just want to also mention, in addition to the HBCUs, there are also other minority serving institution categories for college institutions, like Hispanic serving institutions, Native American. I mean, we're working with the education committee, and hopefully, I haven't talked to the curriculum committee yet, doing some outreach to some of those institutions, which are probably smaller institutions that may be interested in this kind of program.
Wonderful. Further discussion?
So everything will be in place for the next regional.
That's our goal. I have another meeting with Scripps, hopefully here at the conference. We're trying to nail down a time, but certainly after EIJ, because we want to get the planning up and going and make a really good impression and a good program for the first one, which we believe would be early in the spring. So we will, so the short answer is we'll know and we'll let you guys know ASAP in terms of the Scripps programming. The training for regions, I can work with Andy. He and I have talked about that to see if we can get that up and running, because we do have some funds to assist with that. Yeah, and he's fundraising for it.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Larry, for working with me on this Scripps leadership email survey that you will send out per Pat's point. Training the next generation of SPJ leaders is super important, so I'm glad that that's still a priority. My question is there a timeline for when that going out? I think in our emails you said maybe early October. The
Scripps survey? Yeah, I was going to set it up before, but I thought I was going to get lost in all the EIJ mailing. So yeah, probably within about 2 weeks at the end of this conference, I see it going out. It's basically already ready to go. It just got to hit send, really.
Yeah, because we could have used some of that information to help form some of the training that Andy's talked about.
Yeah.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Those two efforts coordinated.
All right, thank you, Larry, thank you, Allison. All right, a report from our journalist on call. Rod, you're up.
Thank you, and good morning. As a journalist on call, I see my primary role is to go out and find ways to get in front of the public, to educate them about the importance of the free press, and also to help them learn how to navigate the vast amount of news and information that they get with every day. The other side of it is a mediation, and that is to work to be in contact with news organizations and report to them, serve as the bridge to explain why it is that people don't trust what you're doing, and give them specific examples and maybe even make some suggestions, but realizing that it is really up to the news organizations to decide what they're going to do. I am working on some projects that will do that. I'll tell you about it in just a moment, but I want to tell you first some of the things that we've done. We did have the town hall that was mentioned previously That was one example of getting in front of the public, talking about issues of trust and coverage. And we'll be doing more things like that. The first thing I did was I went to Annapolis just before I officially started here, right after the shooting at the Capitol Gazette. I spoke to many of the residents who lived there. I went to 2 vigils. I got there the day after the shooting, went to 2 vigils on that day. And I even went to church that following Sunday. I went to the church of where the pastor also serves as a chaplain for the sheriff's department. So she brought an interesting perspective being there on the scene. I did speak briefly with Phil Davis, who was one of the employees of the Capitol. That he spoke at one of the vigils, and it was really a good experience going there and talking to the people and getting their impressions about the news media. It was maybe what you might expect. Some people trust the media, some don't, but moreover, they trust the Capitol Gazette. They see it as an important, vital, and important service to their community, and they know the people who work there. And we've talked a lot about how local media is trusted more than national media, and Capitol Gazette is just really a good example of that. A couple other things that I've done is I've written a couple of pieces, and I'll do more writings. I wrote about Capitol Gazette shooting for one, and right after the editorials that joined the editorials that news organizations put out, declaring that they're not enemies of the state, I did a piece that talked about, wow, that was good. There is more that news organizations can do and should be doing, such as just getting to know your communities better and staying in touch with them. And to the extent that you can, explain what it is that you're doing, and if possible, even find ways to open up the newsrooms. I also was on a panel at the EIJ conference. This was a panel about restoring trust in the media. Very good panel, it's very well attended. Sarah Busby from Associated Press, my former boss, was also on the panel, and we had a really good discussion talking about some of the things that we can do better. In coming up, I'm working on a project that will bring news literacy to communities across the country. It's still in the development stage, but the plan is to help people learn how to navigate all of the information that's out there, and also how do you discern between commentary and reported news. It is very difficult. I talked to a guy he's an educated guy, he has some stature in the community, and he said, I don't know how to really figure out who I should trust or what's the best source of news for me. And so he has decided that his primary sources of information are from outside of the United States. And he reads the reports about the United States and media from other countries. And the other thing, and this is a big one, is that we're going to do a project and go to a community where we stick with them for a while, at least a year, where we are doing the types of things that we're talking about, doing news literacy projects, discussing about other issues, hearing from them about their impressions and what questions that they have about why the press works the way it does and why did it do this. They can talk about the local media, and we're going to go in there for at least a year and see if after a year's time, perhaps a year, but after some period of time, if the sessions that we've had with them has made a difference in how they view news and understand the role that the press has in our democracy.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
As far as the, you mentioned news literacy, we are going to be making endeavors or trying to make inroads in that. Are we going to be reaching out and potentially partnering with organizations like the News Literacy Project?
Yes.
Whose sole focus is to increase media literacy?
Yes, I've already reached out to them. We haven't had a conversation yet, but I've reached out to their office already.
Any other questions? Yes, Michael.
There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious. What do you think the strategy is for training college journalists?
Most of my time will be with the public. I think that's where that having an understanding of what's going on, I think is the start. And why we're here, why we're in the First Amendment, I think that's a good starting point. But also, you know, a lesser, maybe 80-20, 70-30, but certainly focusing on the public.
Very good. Patty?
Can you tell us about the audience for the Tuesday program, town hall program? What
Yeah.
kind of audience was that, and how is that maybe illustrative of the direction you're taking the job?
The town hall is a little different than probably most of the other ones that I'll be doing. This one, the audience was a cross-section of people in the community. It was, we selected people to come there. It was by invitation. We didn't open it up to the general public. We wanted a good and we did it for two reasons. One, we wanted to know that we have a good cross-section of people. We had people from clergy, we had activists, we had business owners, we had people who worked in social services programs, and that was half of the audience, and the other half was journalists. And the other reason that we wanted to keep it small was so that we could have a good discussion, because the more people that you have, the more unwieldy it gets. And from that, we got some suggestions. People made good suggestions. And going forward, it would be similar, but the focus of it would be different. It would be tailored to those communities, moreover. What we feel or what we learn is the needs of those communities. And there will always be an element of news literacy that we try to get across.
Right, Rachel.
Ron, I suppose you've already thought about this, but I think one of the important factors for you is to make sure that you have a good method for measuring impact. I would hate for you to do so much of this outreach and then not be able to quantify and evaluate the measure of good that we can.
Right, that is challenging in some regards, but we are in track of what we're doing and how we're talking to. The project that I mentioned, the way we're going to the community, we will have a good measure of that.
Very good. Thank you, Rod. Thank you for everything you've done so far and what you're endeavoring to do. I really look forward to seeing the results of this.
Thank you, Rebecca.
All right, moving on to action and discussion items. First up is association management. Allison.
As you know, we have lost 2 clients, and we did 3 different things for those, a total of 3 different things. For one of the clients, we did 2 services. For the other, we did 1 service. We are working to, especially after EIJ, more diligently to recruit new clients. We have one who I sent information to who is very interested before we came to EIJ. So I sent a packet explaining, outlining what they want and fees and whatnot. And we have 2 other associations who we think may be interested. So that's a really important thing for us. We maintain great relationship with the 3 associations who we currently do work for. They're very happy with the work and have sent an email, which I think I passed on to you, saying we will continue. One of them did at least, and so.
Question? On chapter financial roles, Lauren.
First thing I want to do is thank the task force members, Andy Schatz and Otts, Michael Koretsky, and Kelly Fasal. I want to just briefly recap this because I know everybody sitting around this table has been hearing about it since April, and everybody in the audience has sort of added a little bit, but just to briefly go over how we got to where we are today. After this reward meeting where we adopted new regional fund rules, the task force turned to chapters. We believe that with the change in the board structure and the RD function becoming an RC function being on the board, it is important to have rules with some enforcement mechanisms. So we started with the best practices from the 2013 task force. We brainstormed, we beta tested those with a handful of chapters and input from our 3 board members focused on student chapters. We made some changes. Andy sent it out to all of the RDs to get some input. We met again, made some changes. We sent it, so it's gone to all chapters, it's gone to all the RDs a second time. And so what we have before you is the proposed work. In the board packet, the campus chapter report is left out. That's why you know on that. And with that, I would like to move approval of the rules.
Right, discussion. All those in favor of, yes, Matt?
There was some discussion at the RTC meeting about the $500 limit.
$200 now.
So I just throw that out there in case anyone wants to raise that issue.
I can tell you that the issue had been raised in comments and everything that was raised in comments the task force discussed. We really believe that 500 is too high of a threshold. Our preference is to keep it at 200.
Not my flash raising in case anyone else wants to.
Okay.
Take it.
I would say, sharing with deadline club specifically, they talked about the $200 to get full majority board approval is going to be exceptionally small. And if they could raise that to 500.
And I'm not sure if this was shared because I was not there in the meeting. If a chapter approves a budget and has all the expenditures in it, then it's handled. So you don't need to do one-off votes on what's in it.
All right, with that, we have a motion on the floor. Second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I will abstain. Oh, sorry. Oh, Eddie, no? Okay, and I will abstain. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to the full-year First Amendment Forever Fund.
Rebecca, is it possible for us to continue with Lauren and then come back to, so she can do the
Oh, the amendment
rules to
rules?
regional funds?
The amendment to the rules to regional funds? Absolutely. We can go out of order. That's not a problem. All right, go ahead.
Happy to do that. As it says in the board packet, at our video conference meeting on July 21st, we addressed concerns raised about using the requirement of a vendor management system. And the goal of that requirement was transparency. So we have a proposed amendment that has transparency in it, but leaves it up to each of the regions as to which method of transparency it approves. So with that, I would move approval of the amendment.
Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Now, moving on to the full year First Amendment Forever Fund.
I'm going to be deferring here soon to Dave because he's the ultimate guru in this whole
Yes.
thing. But
It is the cool year for.
Yes.
First Amendment.
so if as you guys know, I think I guess it's been a couple of years now or so that this was first 4 years. Okay, so 4 years. This was first introduced, and Dave came to me with this memo here about saying that he thinks are better, or we're ready to put forth and use these funds. And I'll defer now to you,
There
Dave.
go. Dave,
Do you want to speak more on this?
Would you like to take the floor, please?
Well, just following up from your spring meeting, just now that we've had this money building up, we could spend about $10,000 a year in interest. So we might as well spend it, might as well put it to good use. So hopefully after EIJ, we can get a small nimble committee together to solicit proposals. Start doing things with it, and hopefully the interest from the projects will generate more. Keep building that sucker up, and 20 years from now, maybe we'll have really substantial. That's the one.
And to what he had mentioned earlier is his thoughts were, and I agree, that by using these funds, it might cause people to want to give to it more. They start seeing it being used, they're going to want to be involved in it too.
100%. Yes, Michael.
I'm quite enthusiastic to support this one. First one, remember, to spend the money, who approves that? Is that a board thing? And is it just a committee thing?
Well, we set it up just like the LDF committee, so smaller projects under 5,000, this committee will be able to just get them moving. But larger asks would go to the full board. And certainly if you have feedback or suggestions or thoughts, this is it's a computer document, so we can hit the backup and change things. But that's the intent.
It's like a video report.
Tentatively, as for the memo, we have a E because we think LDS should be in on some of the conversation. The FOI chair, whoever that will be, still I believe. I'll be on it. Zach, Larry will be on it to make sure we're not stepping on toes and getting things crossways. And then I think we'll probably bring in some outside folks. So another part of this is to help coordinate us with other organizations that kind of work in this area. National Freedom Information Coalition, which has a fund. First Look Media, which has a fund, and they just hired Jim Rison to run that. So hopefully we can get him involved. If we all coordinate, I think we could be more effective. That's
All right, looking forward to seeing what happens with the concept going forward.
We'll make sure to keep you up to date.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, moving on, a public comment period, we've had it, but if any members of the public would like to address the board, please feel free to do so at this time. Okay, moving on to committee reports. Does any board members have any questions or comments about the committee reports that were submitted? Okay. Then the last item on our agenda is I'd like to recognize some board members who are going to be leaving us and thank them for their service. The first is Lynn Walsh. Thank you very much. All right. Today, who is not with us today, David Morano. Michelle Day. Williams. Thank you, all of you, for the time, energy, and effort you've given to the board and to the society over the past year. It is deeply appreciated. And with that, the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Prior to adjournment, I know that a short public discussion about sponsorship, that Jane, Alex is shares information about it.
Oh, right, the organization,
That's
the
right.
timeline.
Absolutely.
Yeah, briefly. Yeah, as I said earlier, and I will be mentioning this in my opening comments on Sunday morning, but I realize not everyone is around on Sunday.
one thing I think people need to clearly understand is actually the president appoints task forces. When we started discussing this, it was just a few weeks ago, so it was too late to really do anything for EIJ18. So the policy, which will be updated, will affect EIJ19. So I announced at that point to the current board that I plan to make this one of the first items. So I will be introducing this in my comments. The task force actually will not be created to begin work until Sunday after our board meeting. And Patty and I will be having discussing it then. And one thing we also wish to do is have discussions with our EIJ partners for as much as possible to bring them into the process because there's one event. So that's where we stand now. So actually organizing the task force will begin on Sunday. And I have scheduled a full year board meeting for next year's board, and our first meeting between this meeting and our in-person meeting will be a virtual online Zoom meeting first. I've told Patty, who will be chairing this task force, that I want the update then because we do need to update this policy. Our current policy was crafted before EIJ, before we had partners. So that is the big. So we will have an update on this. And obviously, once the board knows this, obviously,
And just important part to make sure that we welcome
yes,
input from all of our chapters and all of our members.
and Patty, you see, listen to that. Patty is taking on many roles. And one thing perhaps not all of our members know as well, traditionally, the president-elect serves on the program for EIJ. So one thing one reason I chose her is one thing I want us to look at is how the sponsorship policy works in the program. In the past, the answer has been not at all. Those sponsorships do not go through our program committee, although occasionally they sponsor programs, which is the program committee has to create. So I think we need to streamline the process and make sure that all of our partners are involved in that. And hopefully this will be a more smooth functioning sponsorship process.
Thank you very much, Alan. All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved again.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? What? But we already took a motion, Andy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We already took a motion.
Very quickly, about our election, we wanted to thank for what you did in rounding up candidates. And I also wanted to reiterate the election central page, which has podcasts with all of the candidates who are running for board, with everybody who's running. And I'd like us to continue to think seriously each year about good ways to get information about candidates. I would love it if we could do a session here with candidates, but whatever we can do to keep it a robust process.
Okay, all right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.